and land registration. We are located in 9 municipalities around the country, and we have around 300 employees compared to Lantmäteriet in total, roughly 2,000, I think, still.
Yeah.
Roughly, yeah. So there are 300 of us, and 7 out of these 9 offices are so-called land registration offices. This is one of them. This is a land registration office. So Skellefteå, Härnösand, Mora, Norrtalje, Uddevalla, Eksjö, Hässleholm, those are all land registration offices, which means that they are the only municipalities and the only offices where you are allowed to review and make decisions in land registration cases. So I couldn't grant an application of registration of ownership in Gävle, for example, even if I wanted to. And even though that is our headquarters, we cannot do that because it is not a land registration office. And this is regulated in regulation. And it has an old history. Before 2001, basically all district courts in Sweden were their own land registration authority. But it was considered a lot more effective to have larger organizations. So in 2001, they merged a lot of these district courts and said that only 7 should be responsible for land registration. And these 7 municipalities, these locations, they were saved when they had the merger to the Lantmäteriet in 2008. So that's the reason. We would like to change that, but it's still a part of the history that we can't escape. A little bit about our organization. It's a rather small organization, 300 people. We have one head of land registration. His name is Thomas Öberg. He's my closest boss. And in his management board, he has one coordinator and one lawyer, and that lawyer is me. So you have a part of the management board here with you now. And we are all located in different municipalities and different offices. So Thomas and our coordinator, they are located in Gävle. I'm here in Norrtalje. And then we have our 5 managers who are also a part of the management board. And they live in different municipalities as well. And they are in charge of different units. Unit South, East, Unit West, Unit for Planning and Development, and our latest edition, Unit for Customer Service, that just recently became a part of the land registration work area. And within these units, you have the heart of the organization. You have the land registration clerks, you have the lawyers, the ones who actually make a difference and make the decisions. This is where you find the heart of the organization, in these units. And we have different teams in the different offices. So in this particular office, we have 2 teams. I'm sure Lena told you about that.
Downstairs.
Maybe. About the changes. Yeah. So a little bit about what we work with. We will focus on the land registration today, but I will tell you a little bit about the other stuff we do as well. And within land registration, we examine, decide, and register about ownership, of course, and site leaseholds, mortgages, contractual land rights such as easements and usufructs. You have to register. It's mandatory to register ownership and site leaseholds, and mortgages if you want the security of a mortgage, of course. Contractual land rights, on the other hand, you don't have to register them in the land register if you don't have to. They are valid even if they aren't registered, but registration provides right and rem effects, third-party effects. So a lot of people decide to register them anyway, because it will give publicity in the land register and it will provide third-party effects. Okay? We also have a specific team situated in Gävle that works with property valuation assessment. I got a lot of questions about tax valuation and the tax rules in Sweden from the other group, which I am not really able to answer, because we are not responsible for deciding or setting that the tax. But we have a team that helps the Swedish tax agency with annual property tax assessment. So they make assessments and they send this information to the tax agency, but it's actually the tax agency that makes the initial decisions about the tax value. We also assist with expertise in property valuation. And apart from that, we are responsible for the electronic mortgage certificates system that I told you about, and it is the work area of land registration that is responsible for this. So we support the credit market and this mortgage registration. And we also manage lost mortgage certificates, because one of the problems with the paper certificates is they get lost sometimes. You pay your loan and you think this piece of paper, it's trash, and you throw it in the bin, or you lose it in a fire or something, but that specific piece of paper is the holder of the right. So if you lose it, you will have to go through a very specific process of mortifying, having it replaced with a different deed. And that is a specific system that could take somewhere between 6 months to 12 months, depending on who has lost the mortgage certificate, if it isn't paid for. So obviously we prefer the electronic system because you can't lose the deeds, and it's very easy for the banks to transfer the rights between themselves. Yes, the Joint Property Management Register, it is a register of community associations, legal persons, and their statutes and signatories. And the joint property, in this sense, is not immovable. It is not immovable property that is owned together in shares or jointly by other people, different people. This is joint property between different properties. For example, it could be a road, it could be waste management, it could be a building where they have internet access or servers, for example. So it's not a joint property as in if me and my wife, if we own property together jointly, we own it with shares, and that is part of the land registration. But our property could have a share in a joint area, and that is what is referred to with the joint property management. And I think that might be a bit different from what you have in your system. I don't think they recognize this in the other group at least.
I think in our case, we're talking of sectional title, where you own like a piece in a larger block of property. So
yeah, like an apartment or a block. Yeah. So we don't really have that information in the land registry. For example, as you see these buildings here that are full of apartments and condominiums, you would not be able to find information about whoever owns those apartments or condominiums in the land registry. You would only see the owner of the whole property, the movable property. But we don't have a register of each apartment. There is an apartment register, but it doesn't contain information about the owner or the holder of the lease. So a secure ownership is the base for a market economy and a functioning credit market. In Sweden's immovable properties are valued to, would you like to guess how much they are valued to jointly in euros? Do you have an idea what they could be worth? I got some questions in the last group as to the valuation of Sweden's properties, and they are a very significant asset in Sweden. They are roughly valued to 1,610 billion euros. So a lot of money in movable properties. New owners are registered every workday. Would you like to guess how many new owners we register every day, every workday? It's a bit lower now because we have an economic situation in Sweden right now with a bit of a regression, where prices are declining and we have less numbers of applications. But usually we register more than 1,000 new owners every day. So it is a very moving property market. And it is mandatory to apply for registration, and it doesn't matter if you bought the property, if you received it as a gift, or if you inherited it. I know that in some countries you don't have to apply for registration if you inherit the property, but it doesn't matter in Sweden. You have to apply for registration regardless how you acquired the property. Mortgages in Sweden, if you want to use your property as security for a loan, you will need a mortgage. And the mortgage as such will be registered in the real property register, and then you can use the mortgage certificate. You can go to the bank and say, this is security for my loan. And the thing about the Swedish system is that all mortgages remain. You don't have to apply for new mortgages just because you change the ownership of the property. So the old mortgages they are still valid, and they can be reused over and over again. And that's the reason why you can see old mortgages in the land registry that are more than 100 years old, because they still have economic value. But still, new mortgages are granted every workday for approximately 140 million euros. So that is how much the potential loan frame is expanding every workday. So how do we contribute to society? Well, we would like to think that it's because of us being open, accessible, and reliable. Legitimate interest is not required in order to look or access the information in the land register. Anyone is allowed to take part of the information in the land register. In many countries, you have to show a legitimate interest to state that you are a seller or a purchaser, that you are a bank or a real estate agent, for example. But in Sweden, anyone has the right to access the information due to our policy of public documents. Anyone has the right to access public documents, and the land register is public, with some very few exceptions. So anyone can access the information, and the information is correct. We have very few errors in the land register or in the property register. And we have simple procedures. I have a slide that I will show you later on about how few and simple procedures we have. So registering information is easy, effective, and cheap. And so is accessing the information. It's very easy and cheap. You can get information for free if you phone us, or if you send an email, or if you send it by post and tell us that you want to access some information. You will be able to get some of it for free. As of right now, the digital information that we provide, we don't charge for it. We might start doing that in the future, but right now it is free. Private individuals cannot get direct access to the real property register. Banks, real estate agents, etc., they can buy systems and have direct access and access any information in the register, in the real property register. But as a private individual, you would have to contact us and require the information. You cannot find it online. With one exception, we have an e-service which is called Who Owns the Property, and I think it's up to 5 ownerships information that you can get for free every day. So you just type in the address or the designation of the property, and you can see the name of the ownership.
So if you find a nice house, I want to buy that, then you can go in and check who owns it, and then contact them.
Yeah, you could. And if you want to do that, you could always contact Lantmäteriet and get a full excerpt from the immovable property register with all the information about mortgages, land rights, etc. Yeah. It provides security. The information is open, useful, and reliable. And by it being that, it prevents corruption. At least that is our idea. And it could be a very important tool to fight money laundering. As of right now, we don't really use the land register information to prevent crime. But we had a government investigation, which I took part of last year, where the idea was to investigate how could the real property register and the information in it be used to prevent crime, money laundering, etc. And the police, the tax agency, they all consider the information in the real property register to be a virtual gold mine. We have a lot of interesting information, but we don't really use it and share it with the crime preventing authorities today. So we're looking into how we could use this information to prevent crime together with the police in the future. Any questions so far?